We've got a couple of shares for you to look at, and Jared is going to start things off for us tonight. He has a charcuterie board and template. Is that right?
It's been a little while since I've done this sort of thing, but I'll try to get these in frame. Nope, that's not going to work. All right, so I've got charcuterie boards. I've been working on this design for about... Oh. Hello? There we go. All right, so I've been working on this design for about 6 months now, just kind of on and off. And one of the things that's really let me kind of explore this kind of territory, and I have another one here as well, is John Dale's giant laser. So the way I made these is I had some like 1/8" hardboard, and I took that to the laser. I did all my design in CAD, and then I taped that to a sheet of MDF that was like 1/2 inch, and just kind of routed it out on the router table. And then when it came to making these out of 1.5 inch white oak, I just taped that template down to this, hit it with the bandsaw, hit it with the router table and a flush cut bit, and I have really, really nice cutting boards. I'm not going to pass these around because they're still a little wet from the oil, but they're just white oak and tung oil and mineral spirits. And you can see them if you want out on the glue-up table in the workshop. So. Yep.
Those look really fine. Thank you for bringing those in for us, Jared. And our second share this evening, and final share sadly, is Diane, who has a medicine pouch to show off.
Oh, this has to go way down. Okay, it's out of suede, and it's has the little button in it, and I put some feathers and some other doodads on the side here. And on the back I put a little elephant. And the needle, it's hard to get through this, so I happened to have a hole punch that would go through metal. So punch, 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 and it made it real easy to sew up the sides. So that the sides were, once the hole was pre-cut, it made it so much easier. But it's just a little medicine pouch to put in keepsakes. It's suede. Suede. Thank you.
All right, very cool. Thanks for bringing that. No, please hop up. What you got, Rob?
So a while ago, Billy and I were talking about his Bridgeport. Get this thing. So on the Bridgeport, he's got a back spindle so that it can run in reverse. But when it does, the RPMs that are displayed are wrong. And they're off by a factor of like 1.8 or something. It's not an exact divisible because of the way the gearing is. So we talked about how to resolve that, and I came up with a little circuit. And you can see by the date when I actually made this, 2018, I made this, and Billy and I think I held it for 6 to 8 months, maybe a year. Finally gave it to Billy, and it's been sitting in his drawer all through COVID. And so we said, hey, why don't we get this thing out? So last week we got it out, but turns out I had never put some pigtails on it that it needed, but we're going to try to get this thing played with. And what it does is it's running a little Arduino type chip. It's a tiny, it's called. And that is going to be a potentiometer that lets you adjust the division factor. So right in the middle should be 1.8. And what we'll do is we'll just turn that slightly while it's running and then measure the RPMs and be able to adjust that. It just adjusts, technically is adjusting the timing. It brings pulses in and adjusts the timing on the pulses out, so it divides it by like 1.8. And then that's just another little jumper. Come backwards. So it's basically something this is gonna actually go right inside his little display unit, kind of buried inside with a couple of jumpers. And then when you switch it into back mode, a switch gets switched and says, fire up the controller, and hopefully all works well. And it doesn't smoke, especially his machine. But that's my little quick one-off show and share.
How do you measure the RPM?
So what happens is there's a little pulse coming in. Right now, as it spins, a pulse comes in that tells you every time it does a rotation, and the little device that we have now counts the number of pulses to display RPM. And so we have to take the number of pulses and divide by 1.8 now to show the true RPMs when it's running backwards. Because you get one pulse per revolution. And so all I'm doing is, instead of trying to divide the number of pulse by 1.8, each pulse has a gap between them, and then I just change the timing of, I read a pulse in and I change the timing of the pulses going back out to the counter, so it thinks that the RPMs are running slightly different than what they are, is the theory. So, hey, Toby.
That only works when it's
Yes, one of the little jumpers on here, one of the little ports on here, I think it's this one, is a little switch, a micro switch that Billy's putting in so that when you put it in back mode, right, it'll activate the switch which says, now go ahead and divide it. Otherwise, when that's not activated, whatever pulse comes in goes right back out again. Right. Yeah. Billy probably knows better. It has to do with is it on the spindle? I don't think it's on the spindle. No, it's not. It's on the motor itself, and then it's geared by the time it gets to the spindle. And there's a 1.8 gear ratio difference on the back. So, okay, that's right. And that was the problem, right? If it's on the spindle, it's a no-brainer. But that was the problem. It wasn't on it. It was on the pulley itself, which has a weird gear ratio. So. All righty.
Rob makes such pretty circuits. For the new folks, just to remind you, the show and share business here, part of the idea is to show off a project that you've recently completed successfully, and we love to celebrate when that happens and see what neat stuff you've been up to. But we also love to see failures, because it doesn't always work out. And so when things don't go as intended, that's also a great share. We can all learn from whatever mistakes you make, and we're excited about that too. And of course too, maybe just a new technology or approach, something you're experimenting with. It doesn't have to have reached its conclusion. We love all kinds of shares. Please bring that stuff to us any Tuesday and every Tuesday. We do have a number of first-time folks here this evening, which is super exciting. Please introduce yourself to anybody that you don't recognize and make them feel welcome. It looks like we've got a Woodworking 101 class coming up on Thursday evening. Have we still got tickets for that? The 101 class is required to use the wood shop, so if you haven't gotten authorized to use the wood shop and you want to, that's the kind of thing you want to look for and sign up on. We're still sort of getting up to speed on our auth classes and all of our classes, and those things are often getting scheduled on the chat server. So if you need auth, talk to the czars, arena, the deputy, hit us up on the chat server, and we're trying to get those things scheduled to meet demand. Okay? Well, let's go out in the workshop and make some stuff and hang out. Thanks for joining us this evening.